in all sectors, the generation of Raila Odinga, even in journalism, you find that there is people are being phased out. Nature is phasing people out. What are your thoughts in regards to that? Do you feel that our generation is ready for this monumental opportunity?
Yes. I think there was 5 questions in one there, but let me start with the...
That's true. Just explore. You don't have to answer all of them. You can pick one and just focus on that.
Yeah, but no, it's interesting that you lumped those questions together, because there is a common thread. There is a common thread in terms of, it's not just the leadership that is shifting generationally, it's also the voter base, it's also the electorate that is changing, and it's changing all over the world. The midterms, the American midterms is a good indication of that. What's happening in Iran is a good indication of that. Young people are swaying, and I think like for the US midterms, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this because I haven't done a deep dive into it, but my peripheral observation is that the American electorate is moving towards swinging towards a more liberal stance, and which then begins to shake some institutions like the GOP, like the Republican Party, for instance, that is rooted in tradition, that is rooted in conservatism. And why? Because all over the world, this new generation that is coming up, I don't know if we are calling them Generation X, what's this generation that is really talked about, that is really defiant, then just because things are the way they are, they're not going to, accept it. They're not going to accept that this is the type of leadership that we deserve, for instance, or like you see the what's happening, the terrible things that are happening in Iran, and you see that a majority of the protesters are really young people. A majority of the voices that have led from the front in terms of putting out the conversation to the world are young people who are on TikTok. In fact, some of them have paid the ultimate penalty and been killed or been imprisoned, but they are so young, but taking their civic duty very seriously, and without that fear that may have been present in previous generations in terms of respect your leaders, or because this is the way it is and it's tradition, then it must remain so. No, they are breaking the barriers. And then what we are seeing, therefore, is perhaps around the world a new strain of leaders that will increasingly reflect the thinking of this new generation. Here in Kenya, I remember having a conversation with somebody last week. There was an article that was going around that was quite volatile about this member of parliament that was proposing an elimination of the presidential term limit, and we instead revert to age. And a lot of people said, you know what, that's not going to happen in Kenya. There was that conversation online saying, no, this is not Uganda, or this is not a country where we will be complacent and let somebody be a dictator or let somebody extend their term limit. And I kept asking, if we could put a finger on why would it not happen in Kenya? What is it that makes it? Is it, we can make as much noise as possible on Twitter, on online spaces, but what is it that we can do as Kenyans that will prevent a leader from being despotic or from putting in place unfavorable or bad laws, such as that one of extending the presidential term limit. And I didn't really get an answer from the different people that I was speaking with, because I kept seeing it as, we have that braggadocio as Kenyans saying, not us, it won't happen to us. But I have this thought that there's this generation that we see online, people complaining about, in the office, they don't behave the way other people do, or they don't respect quote unquote authority, or most importantly, they speak up for their rights. I think that is the generation, and those are the young people that would shift our political culture to the point where the electorate are not just recipients or acted upon, but also can push back, the way these young people in Iran are doing, or the way the young Americans in the ballot did. So no, you're right in saying that there's a generational shift, and I think that generational shift, both in leadership and in the electorate, is one that is positive and can potentially change the global political landscape.
Thank you so much, Daisy.